Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Longley's Line Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Longley. Remember, like, follow, subscribe on all of those social medias. Stephen Longley for me, Longley's Line for our show, Lightstyle Studio for the studio here. And as you guys know, we like to bring on people from all over the entertainment industry. And today is no different. Today I have Mr. Andy Adams. Andy,
Hey,
thank you
Steve.
for being here.
Thanks, man. Appreciate being here.
Before we get going on anything, go ahead and promote your socials, where you want people to find you, anything like that.
Sure. You can find me on Instagram and other places at The Andy Adams. Simple as that.
Easy
Yeah.
peasy.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do it. I tried to do it before where I had like underscores and all kinds of stuff in my
Right.
name. I'm like, this is too confusing. Now it's just
Yeah.
bare bones.
There's a lot of Andy Adams out there, so just I'm the one.
Yeah. If you see Reno, you know
Yeah.
you're in the right spot.
Exactly.
So where are
Yeah.
you from originally?
Hail from the land of 10,000 lakes.
Yeah.
Any guesses?
Minnesota?
Hey, spot on. Yeah, Paul Bunyan would be proud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not a cold fan, so.
Yeah, it's a good place to be from. A lot of lakes. You appreciate 4 seasons. Then you're like, where is mountains and warmer climate? I will go there.
Yeah. What brought you to Reno?
Oh,
Like,
love of
what-
the mountains.
Really?
Yeah, circuitous route. So spent most of my childhood in Minnesota, college there, and then Wisconsin for a brief time,
Okay.
and then Oregon for Mount Bachelor and being a ski bum, and then
gotcha,
from
okay.
there down to Reno.
Wow.
Yeah.
So growing up, did you have an idea of what you wanted to do for a living? You know, when you're a kid, you're kind of thinking,
Oh, the choices were clear. It was like astronaut
Of
or architect.
yeah, the two big ones.
Yeah, and then it kind of switched from that. And I was like, well, what am I good at? I'm good at storytelling, so I suppose I'll throw an English major in there. I'm good at video acting, so some theater. And then what would pay me money? Oh, journalism might pay me money. So I did a blended major of that in college.
I like the one that you're saying with like acting and author. Mm-hmm. So it was architect, astronaut, actor,
Yeah, and then like,
author.
well, astronaut may be a little stretch, but
It's like in that episode of Friends where Joey just gets the encyclopedia and it's just the Z's or the K's or whatever
Yeah.
it is. And he's like, can we talk about the Korean War now? I know all about that. And it's like, I haven't moved on from the A's yet.
Kamchatka, I can tell you all about that in risks. Too.
Yeah, we can go all day. Well, it's Vietnam War. Damn it.
Sorry, I'm out. Yeah.
I'd rather not. If we
Yeah,
could
I was
just-
very impressionable. I think it was like whatever speaker came to my school, it's like, oh, I want to do that. This guy came who like biked across the Sahara Desert. And I'm like, oh, I could do that. And then I thought a little bit more. I'm like, wait, that's not for me. I'll be an
Yeah.
astronaut.
There you go,
Yeah.
the easy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen Apollo 13. I'll be fine.
Oh, yeah. Well, they show that after you're in space. Like, this is what could go wrong, but don't think about that.
Yeah, don't think about that. Don't focus on how crazy it might be.
Exactly.
Get ready.
Yeah.
So when you're younger, kind of figuring out what you want to do, did
Mm-hmm.
acting or anything kind of come into play when, like, did you do theater? Did you play sports, have aspirations for any of those?
Yeah, I did a lot of things. I was kind of a child actor. I did a bunch of, I guess, a lot of auditions and some small films in Minnesota.
Okay.
Almost got to be in Look Who's Talking Now.
Really?
Yeah. Was like the number 2 choice. And some guy from Atlanta beat me. That guy.
Atlanta is a big acting hub.
It
so
is a hub, yeah.
Kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Let's see. But I guess I focused on soccer, downhill skiing, alpine skiing for the fancy people, and ultimate frisbee in high school.
Okay.
And if you haven't played ultimate, it is the best sports. That's
I've only thrown the frisbee in the backyard.
Okay,
That's
yeah.
about as far as I was a big football and wrestling
you
guy
go.
in high
Okay.
school. So that was my main go-to. And I'm like, oh, I can try out for a college somewhere. No big deal. I'm about this size as I already was. And I was like, okay, maybe not. Maybe I'm not going to be a defensive end for, the Niners somewhere.
Yeah. Maybe the Broncos though. Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. They need people. So
Cool.
Broncos.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, I did sports for a time, and then college kind of got back into acting more so.
Okay.
So took more classes on it, did some theater productions, and then found improv and really enjoyed that. Mm-hmm. So did comedy sports in Minneapolis, and then did some comedy improv in Bend, Oregon.
okay.
Comedy Central of Central Oregon.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you say so.
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Right?
I know.
Some funny people there.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I never would have. Well, actually, a comedian I follow, Ron Funches, he's from Oregon.
right.
So
Oh, nice, okay.
I guess that does make sense.
Okay.
You can get some sort of funny people out of there.
Oh yeah, look for Cody Michael. He's an up and comer.
Cody Michael.
Yeah, for Ben He's more stand up, but does improv too. But more stand up.
Did you, so you were kind of doing improv. Did you want to transition that into stand up at all?
I did try some stand up in Bend, a little bit in Reno, and I'm like, this is a lot of effort for 5 minutes of time. Like, you got to create your own scripts, test the jokes, test the waters. Whereas acting and improv, they're very different, but basically it's like someone else writes the script for you if you're acting, or if it's improv, I don't have to think at all. I just go with it. And as long as I'm feeling like confident in my choices and making interesting choices, it's funny.
Yeah.
So a lot less thought goes into those two than stand up. So I kind of gravitated more towards those.
Yeah, which you'd think would be different because improv is all about thinking.
Yeah, you're right.
While
There's-
not thinking.
Yeah, it's taking off your filter and just going with the first thing.
Yeah, I had a
Yeah.
friend come with me one time to a acting class, and he was like, "Oh, I kind of want to see what it's all about." So it was mostly doing a lot of improv games and acting techniques and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we were doing the improv stuff, and I'm fine when it comes to the improv stuff. It's like, all right,
Sure.
what are we doing? I'll just kind of think on the fly.
Yeah.
And he had never done anything
Oh,
like that.
then it's very hard.
So
Okay.
we're sitting there in the game, getting into it, and it's one of those where as soon as somebody messes up, they have to tag the other person out.
Gotcha.
And I'm just
Yeah.
standing on a chair, like, all right, somebody come get me.
Yeah.
Somebody come get, and nobody, and I just see him rotating in and out. And he's like, God, this is hard. I don't know what to do here. I'm like,
Were you doing the questions game, or is it just build a scene and if you stutter, you're out?
yeah, I think it was just
Okay.
build a scene and see
Gotcha.
what happens. And it was a lot of fun. And he's like, I don't think I'm ever doing that again.
You're like, give you some scotch and come back next week.
Yeah,
It'll
it's
be
like
great.
we'll get a little drunk. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens. Then you won't even be thinking about it
right
at all.
Yeah.
So then, while you're in Ben, kind of was that where you thought you'd pursue the acting more while you were there, or
Definitely
was it just kind of
improv, and then COVID hit, and we're like, everything is on pause for a moment.
Right.
And then COVID lifted. Improv was a bit like the group kind of split up after that, and then we were moving to Reno just not soon after that. And then when I got to Reno, it was like, well, there actually is an acting scene down here.
Mm-hmm.
So that reignited kind of a fuel from college where I guess I forgot a step. In college, I was making films. I did a film festival, won that. That was a
Okay.
lot of fun. But it's also Minneapolis, so I'm like, well, my choices are make promo videos for Best Buy and Target or make indie stuff.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was like, I got to focus on working and adult stuff.
Yeah,
So I
gotta
put it in the
pay
back burner.
bills.
But yeah, in Reno is like, oh, there actually is an acting scene here. So I'm going to get back involved with that.
Yeah.
So I did the 48-hour film festival, got involved with True Talent Like You. And yeah, I did some soap operas this past fall and winter.
really where with
Mad Wife Productions.
Okay. Yeah,
so
they've
they
been
got this
talking about
client
that.
who's like, we need soap operas and a lot of them. Can you do it? Okay.
what was the part that you were doing?
So
If
the
you
first
can talk
part,
about it.
yeah, two of them have come out. One came out about a month ago, and in that one, I'm like this comedic brother of a millionaire who's just kind of enjoying the transformation of his sister-in-law as she goes from kind of a regular snooty person to this sudden like, oh, she's actually riding horses and wants to start her own company and acting and standing up for herself, and basically like she has a transformation that happens. Spoiler alert. And so I'm just kind of encouraging her, and also like, this is just fun to watch.
Yeah.
So that was that one.
Want
Yeah.
to watch the world burn.
Yeah,
kinda
yeah,
thing.
exactly. Yeah. And the second one just came out a couple of weeks ago. And that one, the title is interesting. It's something like, I'll look it up in a moment here. It's like Married to My Past Life's Nemesis or something. It was an interesting choice of title.
Quite a mouthful.
Yeah.
Mad Wife does have a clever way of coming up with names from
Right.
time to time.
I think that one was a lot of the clients doing, but yes.
Still, they always like to have very unique kind of names. Like the one that I worked with them on was called Triamine.
Oh, what'd you play in that?
I was the background of what we kind of came up with was more of a deadbeat dad,
Okay.
but that was more just us kind of poking fun at the character because it's like these bills aren't getting paid and the wife was sick.
Yeah.
So it was a very dramatic short. So it was very sad and, like really pulled at your emotions. But
Oh.
as we're on set, me and the wife, who's played my wife like 3 times in TV, which
So
is
now you
pretty
have
funny.
to.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
But now she's dead, so it's
Oh,
cool.
okay. Whew.
Yeah,
That worked out.
She died, spoiler. And we were kind of poking fun. It was like, why aren't these bills getting paid? Well, because John doesn't know how to keep the bills paid. So we just said I was a deadbeat dad. And I got to sit there, and me and the kid that looked nothing like either of us, because I've got dark hair. The gal that was my wife, she had red hair, and he
Okay.
was a tall, skinny, blonde kid.
Oh,
We're
recessive
like-
genes. That's how it works.
It was like,
Yeah.
I saw the mailman walking around. He was a tall, skinny, blonde guy.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever. But it was a very
Mailman, milkman.
cool, dramatic role where me and the kid just got to like cry together. So that was a lot of fun. And it
Yeah.
was called Tree of Mine. Check it out if you haven't.
Yeah.
And what was
We
the
will.
name of the other one?
Married to my past life's nemesis.
Okay, so you were right on that one.
Yeah, I was about had it. Yeah. So that one I play one of the leads. I play a bodyguard, John Forrester. And so my job is to protect the princess at all costs.
Of course.
And oh no, we're transported from medieval time to nowadays, and only
okay.
I and the princess have memories of our past life. And so we're trying to figure out how to navigate this 21st century, and also really how to get back to our old kingdom of medieval times, because we were rocking it there.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Very interesting.
it was. It was unique, at least.
Do you have, now that you kind of had your fuel on the fire again for acting, did you have any sort of specific type of roles that you wanted to play? Like, since you did improv and kind of dabbled in stand-up, did you think you wanted to lean more towards comedic roles, or do you like the drama, or it's kind of whatever?
I like them both. I definitely love comedy, so love like Robin Williams, Jim Carrey, Steve Carell, those folks. Anything that they would make, I would make. Yeah. And then on the dramatic side, I mean, there's interest there for me too. More so like, I mean, Christopher Nolan's a favorite, so movies with a lot of like depth and purpose would draw me in.
Yeah.
Listen to Michael Caine's autobiography, really enjoyed that. Matthew McConaughey. So just things that make the audience think, make them grateful for what they have.
Right.
Those type of movies draw me in.
That would be cool. Yeah, I think about the old times, like with mine, Chris Farley is
yeah.
my go-to guy.
Oh, yeah.
So
Black Sheep, yeah.
at any point, if Chris Farley is brought up, I'm like, oh, let's talk Tommy Boy and Saturday Night Live
Yeah.
and go all into that. And he was one of those like just staples in my childhood, because it's funny whenever my wife and I will talk about, these certain people that we just gravitate towards. Like, she's huge Robin Williams and Dick Van Dyke. And
He's still
already
alive, I think. He's in his 90s.
90.
Yeah, 90.
I think 96.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's still, it just showed him getting pushed around in a wheelchair at Disneyland. And my wife goes, oh, he's getting pushed. He's 96. And then when
He's earned
the
it. Yeah.
Dapper Dans came out, he just got out of his chair and was like, let's do this. Like, nothing happened.
Amazing.
Like, he just got up and he was like, somebody get him a cane and penguins. Let's go. And she's always saying, well, Dick Van Dyke, Robin Williams, they remind me of my dad. And I was like, I've met your dad, so that makes sense. Like, and then I always thought about that with Chris Farley. It was like, my dad was the one who introduced me to Chris Farley.
In person?
No.
Oh, okay.
That would
That'd have been epic.
He died in like 96. I was
Yeah, he
3
died
years
young.
old
Yeah,
when when that happened. But
Yeah.
like 96, 97. But he first showed me Tommy Boy, and I was hooked from there on.
Right,
And then when
yeah.
my wife and I talk about it, it's just, he reminds me a lot of my dad. And it makes a lot of sense. And it was like, Chris Farley's my guy.
Yeah,
That's
for
my
sure.
go-to. And if
Yeah.
I had to like pick from the acting world, that's one of the top ones. Or like Keith David. He's one of my all-time favorites. Plays the Shadow Man. He's got that deep voice that you just love to hear.
Yeah.
Did you ever
Very
have
low.
any other inspirations, like kind of growing up, any specific movies that stood out in your head where it was like, I kind of want to do something like that?
Yeah, a lot of comedies. So Dumb and Dumber, Happy Gilmore.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Adam Sandler would make me crack up as a kid. So definitely enjoyed his. What else? Yeah, I'll think of some others.
Yeah, it'll come to you as soon as this is done.
Yeah.
That's always how it
Yeah.
goes. So when you're here now, even before coming here, what are some stories from like behind the scenes when you were doing like a first acting gig? Do you have anything that you remember of like well, this is what happened when I was first on a set or anything like that?
I mean, in college, it was a lot of like, I'd have one assistant with me who was like running the camera, and then like maybe somebody else I could have hold a boom while we're shooting some stuff. So like, in that one, it was a romantic comedy. And so I just like impromptu asked the restaurant owner, hey, do you mind if we film here for like, an hour or so? We'll just be in the back there. Oh yeah, sure. Why not? You're a college kid. Make that happen. A lot of like happy accidents where I was in that movie. I recruited about 6 people to be on an ultimate frisbee team to play against a rival team, and it went to the rec center, and just so happened like there was a team playing. I'm like, hey guys, would you mind being the opposing team for our game in this movie? They're like, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah.
And so got them to do that, and then also I knew a friend who was like coaching track at the time, and she had her track meet going at the end of it. I'm like, hey, would you mind getting all your track girls to pretend to be like cheerleaders for this? She's like, yeah, why not? And so just like serendipitously came together in parts of that movie when I needed it. And the other parts were very much just like me and the lead actress, so that was easy to do. But times when I needed a crowd, it just kind of like happened on the set.
It just worked out.
Yeah, on college campus. That was really fun.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then just finding what works in the movie. Like, I think that movie, if I were to do it again, I went really heavy with soundtrack music to like give a feel for each scene.
Sure.
And I think I kind of overdid it because like every scene's like, and another, I don't know, U2 song or some romantic comedy bits. So I'd probably tapered that back a little bit. But that was just a lot of fun. And then doing a fight scene. Yeah, fight scenes got better over the years.
Yeah.
So
As you can learn to choreograph
exactly, yeah.
fights, because you just think, just go over there and throw a punch. Sure.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Completely fake.
Yeah. So, like in the soap opera we just did this November, we had some fairly intense fight scenes where I had like a spear in my hand and I had to like work with the other actor to do like to take down a shield, like 1, 2, spin you around, stab in the stomach, not fake stab, and then like twist and then go dive in front of somebody else and get stabbed myself and like, okay, do this in 7 seconds, go. So that was interesting and kind of something you wouldn't think that you would spend so much time rehearsing, but once you're in the film and doing those live action things, it takes quite a bit to have choreographed those scenes.
You never realize how important stunts and stunt coordinators are.
Yeah.
Because that's a big part of that. If you ever watch any sort of fight scene, the amount of work that goes into all of that is ridiculous. Like I did a same thing with Mad Wives for where we were all werewolves? Vampires. Werewolves.
Was it recent?
Yes.
Werewolves. Yeah.
So I was just, like werewolf number 4 or something. So then they had all of us kind of lined up, and Nick Bolentini, he came through and was like, okay, let's choreograph this. So then me and the other guy, we worked on it, and you can actually get hurt doing that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
There were a few different
Your abs
times.
take a bunch of beatings.
We're running around and we do the scene and we're flying, and then a shoe hits me in the face and he kind of falls back and I hit him too hard, and we're both like, are we good? Yeah, we're good. Let's go. And
adrenaline's still coursing through you. We're good.
Yeah. We're like, are we fine?
Yeah.
I don't know. Give me a second. Just hanging out and waiting. Do you want to do more directing? Kind of as you were thinking about making that indie film again?
I think if I wrote the script, then yes. Yeah.
Like give it similar to that other one, or kind of just write a completely different script?
I do enjoy the romantic comedies, but probably be a different script. It'd probably be a blend of humor and dramatic. I haven't directed in a long time, though, but I have written things. Like I wrote a fantasy adventure book a couple of years ago, and so I know what it takes to craft a beginning, middle, and end to grow a character. So I feel like if I applied myself, I would be able to crank out a script. Yeah.
And what got you into writing the book?
A love of good books growing up. So have you ever read Ender's Game?
No.
Have you read Harry Potter?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So those 2 books prompted me to think like, these were so much fun to read. I would like to make something of that of my own.
Okay.
So I did some world building, thought of some magic creation, thought about really the best parts of Harry Potter were Quidditch. So I'm like, how can I make my own games that are different and better? So I did that and had a character run through the gauntlets of trying to rise through the ranks in this new world, live, and then realize, there's more than just games actually. There's actually like a looming war coming on that he needs to help prepare for and participate in.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Was that the first attempt at writing?
Oh, no, I
Or-
wrote some short stories before that. It took quite a bit to finally think of a story worth doing 100,000 words on. So those were all short stories, and then that one's called The Games of Ganthria.
Okay.
And that took a good, 4 or 5 years to make and revise and make better.
Do you have more sequels coming?
There
from
are
it?
2 more books coming. I'm about more than halfway in the second book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm not much of a reader, only because I read very slowly. And
Okay.
then normally if I'm reading, it's when it's close to bedtime.
Sure.
So I start reading and
Fading, yeah.
I'm into whatever's going on. Like, this is awesome. And
Yeah.
I'm out every time.
Okay.
So when it comes to reading, I'm not much of a reader. But
The trick is to listen to audiobooks. Then you are a reader. But carry on your thought.
I do that as well. When you are coming up with something, did you take kind of I don't want to say inspiration because you kind of said Harry Potter, like from Tolkien, from The Lord of the Rings, because my wife's read 2 or 3 of the books, something like that, and the amount of time she says he went on for about 15 pages about the bark on a tree.
Yeah, he went overkill in detail.
And I was
Yeah.
like, I can only imagine how taxing that much,
Right.
just one, writing that, and 2,
Yeah.
having to read that. Did you think when it came to writing your book about the ups and downs and being too descriptive or not descriptive enough? Did that kind of come into play?
Yeah, so I learned from Tolkien and other authors how to build a scene, but without overdoing it to the point of, we've spent 4 paragraphs on just the setting. I'm bored and I lost you.
Yeah.
Like, I can do that in about 2 to 4 sentences is the setting. That's all. And even you can do better than that. More power to you, and brevity is wit. So mine was more on the action taking place in it. But you still had to build up, okay, it's not just Earth. It's this world that still has magic. So trees are 500 feet tall. There's a sort of magic, but you have to have both an amulet and a mirkan or a wand, essentially mirkan, because it channels the magic from your amulet to make things happen. It's not just simply having the magic in you and reciting a spell.
Okay.
I took it a step further because to me that seemed a little too simplistic. So yeah, I definitely thought of those backstories and then had the character start immediately facing obstacles, facing challenges in the world versus just and there in the distance was a beautiful canyon surrounded by purple trees and yada, yada, yada.
Right.
Yeah.
And then is fantasy the same kind of lane you want to continue to go down?
For writing books, yes.
Okay.
For making movies, it's a lot harder. So you need a lot more props and people involved. So for movies, it's more realistic.
Right.
Yeah. What's funny now? What can we do with just 2 people having fun and limited props? Because really, I feel like in good movies, it all comes down to wordplay, dialogue, the way you emote, you play a scene together. Somebody's is more fun and more interesting than having $1 million set. I mean, those are fun too. $1 million sets are great.
Yeah.
But
I can only imagine what being on one of those sets is
right.
like.
Yeah. Someday.
Where everything's a green screen and you have to
Yeah.
pretend this is a dragon. Or
Yeah, exactly.
something
And you're in a
like that.
leotard that's skin tight.
Yeah.
Also green. Yeah.
You guys are going to CGI all of this, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sure. Right.
Massive
of course.
pecs. Yeah.
Oh, thank God. I had a donut this morning. Just thinking like
That's
that.
a good morning.
Also saw you brought your guitar. Do you do
I do play
music
music.
stuff
Yeah,
as well?
this year is also a focused year on creating more music. So
what kind of genre do you kind of gravitate towards?
yeah, a bit of Ben Folds, Coldplay, Spanish guitar, Killers. Yeah,
Okay. Trying to think of what I'd categorize that as.
me too. If you, please let me know.
Like a pop rock, alternative-esque,
Yeah,
I'd say,
yeah,
right?
yeah. A bit of Avicii in there too. Yeah.
I do like Avicii.
Yeah.
Avicii's a good one.
Although
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I need to work on my synthesizer and stadium building escapades that he does.
Gotcha. Yeah, Avicii, he had crowds going wild.
Yeah.
that was something. We miss you, Avicii. No big deal. Kind of piggybacking off of the writing portion of that. So saying that you're playing the music that's Killers, Coldplay kind of themed. Do you write your own music as well for those?
Oh, I do.
Or
Yeah.
is it mostly covers? Like, which do you kind of focus on?
So I make my own music. I've been doing that for years. Started with piano and then shifted to guitar and piano. And to get better, I do covers because I figure like, all right, what are the best songs I like? How do they transition from the lyrics to the chorus to the bridge back to the chorus? Like, how does that fit together? And also, like, you find when playing guitar, you really have to memorize all the chords first and then go back and not, when you're able to not think about the chords, then you can add the lyrics and sing it on top of it.
Right.
So it's a bit of a balancing act and muscle memory.
Do you have a favorite cover song?
No, I just play a lot. So
Just whatever comes to
Yeah, I
mind.
play. So like, I went to Keel's Irish Pub a couple weeks ago, and I was like, oh, this has inspired me to learn some Irish tunes. So I was like, well, let's learn the Wellerman song.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and let's learn this is Dropkick Murphys and
Shipping Up to Boston.
Oh, good. That's a good song. Oh, it's a different one though. It's the Rose Tattoo.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Rose Tattoo. That's
a
really
good
fun
one.
to play.
I'm a big big Celtic music kind of guy.
Oh wow!
Like the
Okay.
High Kings.
Yes, High Kings. Yeah,
They're my favorite.
nice.
They're
okay.
my
You can
go-to.
river dance too.
I can line dance.
All right, that's close enough. Yeah,
So-
if you keep your arms straight, it's a river dance.
That's more or less what I'm doing. Just please don't look over here. I'm trying to watch my feet.
awesome.
Do
Have
one
you
of
seen
the-
any of those bands perform?
I have
Irish or
not.
otherwise? Okay.
I have not. But one of the goals that my wife and I have that we had even before we met each other is taking a trip out to Ireland.
Oh, there you go.
And we just had a friend's
Motherland.
birthday party, and they were like, "Oh yeah, Ireland's fantastic." I'm like, "Please don't talk about it. I just want. I'm too poor to try and go and do that." Right
Oh, you'll
now."
get there.
It's on. It's one of the bucket lists right now. That's like half of the motherland for me.
Okay,
So I'm
what's
like,
the other half?
Mexico.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm Irish and Mexican. So it's like I'm drunk and there's guitar playing somewhere.
Oh, yeah. And,
you know.
and you have a sombrero on. Yeah.
Yeah, sombrero, a peaky hat, whatever you want. A little bit of both.
Okay.
It's either green or it's yellow. It's one of the two. So
Making money, eating honey. Yeah. Sure.
sometimes, yeah.
That's green and yellow.
If I could do both, I would. Have you done any like performing live for your music as well?
Talent shows, and then last fall I was on a cruise, and they're like, "Hey, we're doing a talent show on the cruise. Come on up if you want." And I was like, "Sure, I'll do this." So I did piano for that.
Okay.
Played in front of like, I don't know, 1,000 or 2,000 people. That's
Right.
interesting. But yeah, I want to get back into the music scene in Reno as well.
It's a pretty big music scene that's around here.
Yeah. Do you play?
I can play a little bit of the ukulele,
Okay.
and I
So 2 out of the 4 strings.
can
Okay.
do like basic piano,
Okay.
and that's about it.
right.
And it's always one of those where I get really into it and I'm doing just fine, learning all the notes, and then all of a sudden I stop playing and I haven't played in who knows how long. And
That's
then
because you're doing something acting wise. Yeah. You get pulled away from it.
hoping.
Yeah.
And there's like, "Can you play the guitar? Does it say I can?" Yes. Yes,
Then I will.
Then yes, I can. Somehow, with these old piano fingers. Because I'm an electrician as well, so since I have smaller hands, they're like, "Hey, piano hands, get over here." I'm like, "Fine," and I've got the tiny fingers for it. I'm like, well, I can play the guitar somehow, some way. Have you ever had to bring like music and acting together? Have you thought about doing like for any of the original songs that you've written, have you thought about making like a music video or trying anything like that?
I have thought of that, and I would like to do that, but I haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
So the closest I've done is like I've recorded songs and I've let other people use those songs as soundtracks in their movies.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I would like to make some music videos. That would be a lot of fun.
That would be good. Do you have a specific song kind of in mind that you'd want to do it to?
There's one I'm working on called "Can You Tango, My Dear?"
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So if you want, I can play part of that, just instrumental. I don't
Yeah.
know if these mics can handle it, but
Jay, can these mics handle it?
you can try.
I like you can try.
All right.
Let's hear a little
Sure.
something.
So yeah,
Can you tango, my dear?
"Can You Tango, My Dear?" Instrumental version.
Let's hear it. Let's
Yeah.
hear a little something.
I'll play about half the song.
was awesome.
Thanks, mate.
It felt like I was on horseback trying to go save somebody.
Oh, good. Yeah, there was a bit of that Western strum vibe in like the middle of the song for sure.
It definitely felt like if I was on a horse right now, I'd save my damsel,
Good.
who probably can't tango, but
No.
she'd try.
She did try. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Thanks, mate.
So when it comes to like playing and performing and writing and acting and kind of, all the different avenues that you're going down, which one would you say is kind of the passion, or do they all take a little bit of everything?
Yeah, they're all different facets of creativity, right?
Right.
So I think I go through different seasons of when I'm focused on one or the other, or both. Mm-hmm. And I'd say this season is definitely acting and music are the top two. And
Those are
then
the
writing's
two.
taking the third place in that.
Yeah. And when you're doing the writing along with coming with the second sequel.
Oh, yeah, book writing? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. You got it.
Where we're coming into the second part of the book, while you're writing that, do you also do screenplays as well?
That would be just too much.
It's mainly when
Like-
it's the writing, it's the
Yeah,
book.
when it's writing, it's the book. Or once I finish book, then I would consider screenwriting on top of that. But I do like to finish a project once I start it. So, yeah, if I'm in a certain genre or mode, like music, okay, finish this song. Writing, okay, finish that book. Or acting, focus on this movie. Try not to do like 3 different acting projects at once. Or, yeah,
Where you
I find,
kinda have to-
you focus and finish, and then move on.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That's really cool, and it's fun because I think a lot of actors have the same kind of entrepreneurial mindset when it comes to thing where you always have moving parts going on because you want to focus on the acting, but then it's also okay, the acting's cool.
But you need something for when the acting has a pause, or like,
Yeah.
you finish this movie, okay, and now we're just waiting for the next thing. Instead of waiting, why don't you focus on your own projects that you can do instead of just focus on work and other things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you don't enjoy your work,
Right.
Why are
it's
you
not very
doing it?
good. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, that's why from the personal standpoint, it's like I would like to have acting be the full-time job, but I also have a day job where I'm an electrician, but then I also have the creative avenues of the podcast.
Yeah,
And then
good
if
for
I
you.
can't do this, I try to do acting whenever it comes up, or I try and do photo shoots if I can. Just try and come up with creative ideas as much as they come to me.
For sure.
And do you have, well, with all of those avenues, do you have any other avenues that you're kind of working on as well?
I mean, work-wise, yeah, it's real estate. But
Okay.
creative-wise, yeah, acting, music, and writing. Yeah.
The fun ones.
Yeah, I guess the other thing would be like working with tile when I'm redoing projects in my house is very rewarding. So like putting up backsplashes or doing different tiles in the bathroom. It's another, I guess, creative thing, but also useful thing.
Yeah, something that can turn out really cool if you do it right.
Yeah.
So then now that you're, working on everything, do you have any sort of next inspiration where it's like you're working on the second book, you kind of have the soap opera going on, you're working on the new music. Do you have anything else that you're kind of working on that you're excited about that's coming out?
I acted in another feature movie last month called Nidstang
Okay.
with Mad Wife again, but I'm not sure the timeline of when they're going to finish. Maybe put out there 6 months or so. They're done filming. They've been done for about a month.
Right.
That one I played a cocky LA executive, and that was very enjoyable. Somebody that was very different from who I am as a person, and so it was neat to put on a different hat for that. I think music makes me the most fulfilled because you can always add more to a song. You can add a different layer to it. I like to try different instruments with the songs. Like I'll usually start with either guitar or piano as the bass line to the song, and then I'll do bass guitar, drums, and then I might do I'll play with like a violin using like MIDI on my keyboard to make that violin real, or try some not weird, just different things. Like I believe there's a setting for these Himalayan bells that you don't really hear unless you're experimenting on your keyboard. Like, oh, that's unique. Throw that in the song. So music is really a wide open kaleidoscope of things you can experiment with and add to it. So that keeps me motivated. And then also music is very quick to release to the world, whereas writing is like a ultra marathon of an ultra marathon to release to the world.
Right.
Because you want to get it just right. There's multiple chapters. People don't see it until it's good, and that takes years. And then when you do release it, like, yeah, you hear that they liked it, but you don't have the immediate thrill of when you're acting like, oh, the audience laughs. Or in music, oh, they listen to it. You can see them dancing or moving. Like, those are immediate payoffs. And writing doesn't have that. It's very much like, I work in solitude, or maybe at a coffee shop because I'm social. But then you read it in solitude, and then maybe we'll talk on a walk sometime that you tell me you liked it. But the other avenues are more quicker to gratify in terms of like see people's reaction. You go to a movie theater, you see a preview, and you see how the audience reacted to your film. Like, oh, that feels so good. So I guess I'm going into the end result of things. But music you can always add to is what I'm circling back to. You can always add to projects, which I like to do. And then writing as well. It's something you got to add to every week. It's like, okay, 500 words there, 1,000 words there. Keep on going to the goal of 100,000. And that's more like ultra marathon running, whereas music is more like sprinting. And also maybe a 5K or a 10K is more like music writing to me.
Okay.
Like it's the timeline to complete is like a week versus years.
Right.
Yeah.
When it comes to like creating the music and the writing, do those two processes ever interlap?
Just in the terms of writing lyrics for music, that obviously takes the writer's hat from story writing. And when I do that, I try to either crystallize an emotion that I'm going for in the song, or crystallize an experience, or oftentimes now I'm like, music doesn't have to be my life per se. I felt like for a while it always had to be some thoughts that I have had towards a certain thing, activity, or a person, or something that from my experience, and I'm realizing, wait a minute, it can actually just be like writing a book. It can be totally fiction. And that's kind of freeing and what I want to create from there. Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. 'Cause I mean that in the sense of like, whenever you think of something in like the vaguest way of saying it is, you always think of the personal reasons behind it. But then it doesn't always have to be like that. It can be projecting and thinking, well, maybe this is how like this person or something is thinking about it, and then going from there.
Yeah.
Like even just the way when you played the song and it felt like I was on horseback somewhere, like saving the damsel or something like that.
Yeah.
Do you ever just kind of like let the imagination run wild and then kind of think, maybe I should wrangle this back or just let it go? You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Some songs, most of
my
my songs actually, I complete the music first and then I go back and add the lyrics to it.
Okay.
So in that sense, yeah, I'm letting imagination go with how the chords progress and how it sounds, because that's really what it's a lot of what you're connecting to as a listener is the sound of it, right? And then I'll go back and think what can fit with that. And so, yeah, Can You Tango My Dear? That song is all about like romance and new places and trying new things, experimenting, and then being kind of like a fleeting night that you want to have happen again, so you work towards it another time. A little bit like Brigadoon, where it's like, oh, it's a fleeting mist of a time, but better than that. Like, oh, we can do this again another night. Right. So yeah, there's definitely that imagination that comes into play. And I think all the best songs, the best movies, the best stories, the thing they have in common is they elicit a reaction from you as a participant, in that you have some sort of sense of whether it's, say you're going through Quidditch or your favorite game, you have that heightened sense of, oh, there's a thrill, you feel it in the base of your head, like, oh, he's flying through the air, this is amazing, and you get that tingling sense of euphoria.
Right.
There's that. Or if it's a good song you're enjoying, it's Coldplay or Killers or whatever, it's usually like a rush of endorphins at some point, and I try to find where that is in the song and really heighten that. And usually I err on the side of positive things, but there are definitely melancholic things that you can play in as well, in music especially when things turn minor, that tap into a different side of emotions. And I think if your audience is feeling something, either positive or sadness or tranquility, something, then you've done a good job.
Yeah.
It's just if they're feeling apathy, then you know, oh, it didn't connect.
Yeah. I think about that too when it comes to the big three that you've got there, when it's the acting, the music, and the writing. You want to elicit emotions from people, whether that be good, bad, or the other. Because I think about that from my own personal standpoint. When it comes to acting, I like making people laugh.
Oh, yeah.
But the fun thing is when you're doing something dramatic and you can elicit an emotion that either makes people hate you or it makes people sit there with you and feel the sadness that you have, or something that elicits those emotions. Do you ever kind of think about that when you're putting the writing process into everything?
So yeah, switching gears to the writing process and thinking through how to enjoy that, I first go to like big picture. What's the whole story about? Big picture. Think of the end and start with the end in mind. Hero's journey plays a big part of things, and then once I have that down, then inside of each of the scenes, that's when the story can change from how I perceived it. Examples are better, specifics are better. So, so my main character, Brenner, as he's going through these games of Ganthria, a lot of the times it's fun, you're flying, you're deflecting spells with a shield, or you're avoiding getting stunned. And so at first it's delightful, it's fun, it's like paintball and chess and flight combined. And then later on, you start to see, but there is actually room for error and danger, because there's no referees really in that. It's not like a sanctions NFL sport. It's more play until the game is done, and then we'll clear up any accidents that have happened. And so you start to see, people can get hurt, people can actually die. And then that's when you shift from, this is just simple funny games to, no, it's people can actually suffer and die. And it's not Hunger Games style where that's the point of the game. It's more like a side effect. When you play hard, that just can happen. Yeah. And so that's when the emotions come into play. So to circle back, I'll start with big picture, and then I'll start writing scenes. And inside of the scene, I get a sense of, is this scene character growth and fun and games, or is it, it's facing a real tragedy, or even, it doesn't have to be quite so high stakes, life or death. There can be obviously simple things of just like going for romance and failing and kissing somebody on the teeth and being like, that was extremely awkward, I failed, and my face is red. Yeah. So, you just, as you write, I think the scene presents itself. Each scene has its own climax, and whether that's a mistake or a blunder or something enjoyable or a thrill, that will clue you into what the emotions need to be.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to put it too.
Thanks.
It's like kind of going from being a teenager to being an adult, where everything's fun and games, and then now you're a grown up and you've got bills to pay, and it's life and death. And
it's still fun and games if you play your cards right.
If you play the cards right.
Yeah.
And then, it's all about perspective. Like, I could be happy as a clam sleeping in a box somewhere.
Clam Box by Acme.
Yeah. I've walked down 4th Street. You'll see a bunch of them.
Oh, yeah.
So, Andy, I want to thank you for coming in here.
Yeah.
We're going to get you out of here. Before we get you going, now that you've, kind of told us you've got acting, music, your novel and everything out, go ahead and promote socials, websites, wherever you want anybody to follow, if they can purchase the book, audiobook, or a hard copy, anything like that, wherever people can find anything. Yeah.
So again, the Andy Adams on Instagram. You can find the Games of Ganthria on Amazon. Some good reviews on there. And then music to be forthcoming this summer. We're going to have an album out probably by July of this year. So awesome. I'll post more on that.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks,
and we
Steve.
will keep you updated on all of that as well. You guys heard it here first. Go ahead and give Andy a follow. For us, it's Stephen Longley for me, Longley's Line for our show, Lightstyle Studio for the studio here. We'll talk to you guys next week.
Thanks, Steve.
Cool.
This is fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming in.